All right, we're going to start the listener forum. So maybe we should go through and introduce ourselves. I think everybody knows everybody, but let's go around and sure. Hi, my name is Christy Ray. I'm the Property Evaluation Field Director. I think most people know me.
I'm Terry Gildersleeve. I'm Property Valuation Operations Chief.
I'm Jill Remick. I'm the Director of Property Valuation and Review.
I'm Elizabeth Hunt. I run the current use program at the Tax Department.
And I'm Pat Santos, Implementation Director at Axiom.
So this forum is for you guys, or you girls.
People.
People, thank you. And it's for you to ask questions and us to answer. So, anybody have any questions for anybody here? Except me, no, I'm kidding.
Really?
They're all questioned out.
I've been here
All right, let's go.
13 years. Don't have a current use question. Really?
Oh, we gave up on now.
Sandra, I recognized your voice.
She knows it's well trained. Jerry, I'd ask a question, but you'll say I don't know the answer to that.
That's neat, but I know how to find the answer. Do you have a question?
No, I was thinking
We only have one mic, so I'm going to be very
We
respectful.
made some up, so we can add them.
Hi, Rachel, Lister in Westminster. We have a property owner with questions about the Safe at Home program, and the Secretary of State's office administers that thing by legislative fiat, but nobody seems to know what we're actually supposed to do to help protect people's public records. The main idea is to separate a person's name from their physical address so someone can find them and stop them and hurt them. So if anybody has any desire to gather information about how we help listers and assessors and other town officials who maintain public records to help us figure out what the procedures should be for doing this, there's apparently really no rules for us.
There is, and it's on the Secretary of State. Hisara.
Hey, Dina Robitaille, District Advisor. So there's the Safe at Home program from the Secretary of State's office that I believe is administered through Visara, so I would reach out directly to that department for the Visara, the Vermont State Archives and Records Administration, okay, not association. But to piggyback on that, when they implemented the E911 program, 97-ish, there's also a caveat that you can have your physical address marked as confidential through that. That's available on the E911 page. I think we have a link to it on our website, but I'm certainly happy to send that out to whoever wants to have that information. The question then becomes, how do we redact that information and still do our municipal responsibility? I don't think that there's any one document that covers all of those things, but that's where we need to start having that conversation with those two agencies.
And Charlie Merriman, is he here?
No.
He actually had a good documentation on where to go and what to do, and the links, because his wife is a town clerk. Anyone else?
Actually, this is more of sort of a general question, and I haven't fully formed the question in my head, so I apologize, but nobody was raising their hands. So there were a bunch of pretty good ideas and thoughts that came out of our discussion with you about what's now Act 68, 2023, which is terrible. So many numbers they could have used. So there's a lot of good ideas there, and there's a lot of things that came up in that discussion that are really important to everybody here and everybody up there too. And I'm wondering what the best mechanism for getting those ideas to the legislature are, because there's a lot of But the whole idea of everybody having to reappraise all at the same time to try and get on the schedule, a lot of that can be solved by utilizing the officials that are here that may just not be qualified under the new rules or whatever that might be. And a lot of smaller towns can do that work on their own with consultant help and have in the past. Our town, we did 4 reappraisals in a row without, we just had a consultant who worked with us to form our land schedule, to do some of the data analysis that was more complicated for us, but we did all the data collection. And so ideas like that I think are valid, that we don't really have a collective way of getting that information to the legislature. And in fact, when the legislature asked for testimony, and Lisa and you guys provided this great testimony, they didn't do anything with it. And so it seems pretty discouraging as a lister to imagine that we're essentially powerless to promote the profession we're in, you know, whether it's a part-time or full-time profession. I just wonder if there's any thoughts you have on how to activate this group and make the legislature aware. Yeah.
And I'll start by asking, does everybody know who your state representative and your state senator is? Because they do, and we've all gotten, by way of them, customer complaints or questions. What I would recommend, honestly, is if VALA has sort of a series of ideas or a series of like statements that's another, like, here's a model that could work in Vermont. Here's a model that is working in Vermont. But then each of you take it to your lawmakers, but it's like a united VALA statement. But like, my rep in Montpelier, who I like walk by on the street or whatever, knows me and is gonna listen to me more than, you know, through PVR as PVR director going to that committee. But if your local, they really do want to hear from their local folks, and you're the folks that elected them to be there, and they want to, you know, represent you. I think that's actually a really powerful way, and I think it will be much more powerful if it's like, if 10 of them hear the same thing. The other thing is what committee your person is on. If anyone here has someone who's on that Ways and Means committee, can't do the math, but if you want to send me who your person is, or I can show you where to find, like, that's a very powerful committee. That was the one that really spearheaded this work. Like, having them get 10 letters from 10 different towns. And some town officials did send them things. They got things from listers and select boards, and they did pay attention to some of those. I don't think that would hurt. But I think in light of leaving a vacuum, I think we've got to fill that vacuum with here's what can work, and here's what can't work, and here's what we need you guys to give us in order for us to do this work. That's gonna be about like success. Like 5 years from now, if we can say, hey, look, we helped foster this great model where we actually shored up and provided resources at the local level, and then that freed up more firms to be consultant with the towns. That's one way to do it. That would be one of my recommendations. Yeah, go ahead.
I just had a thought, and I don't know if it would work, but I don't want to clog listserv with ideas, but maybe we could create some sort of other chat room or something where folks could share ideas, and we could, I don't know, it's just a thought.
Popped into my brain.
I mean, even a valid Google Doc where you guys could
Yeah.
add things to it.
Anybody else?
I heard in one of the sessions today, a very good discussion about getting information out to the public, and a number of really good ideas about how to do that. Contact your local people who are media, all this different stuff. But one of the things that I didn't hear was getting a document or a series of documents together that we can use to actually do that. Is there something that has the responsibilities of a lister, the advantages of a lister, what was, all these different things that could be put into this? I don't want to go out and start trying to talk to somebody on a professional level like this without something in front of me. And is there such a thing, and if not, what's going to happen to make it happen?
Do you mean specific to H480 or just in general? In general. Okay. Because I know we have a role of the listers document that does kind of explain the different structures.
What does a lister
lister do? It's on the website. It's called What Does a Lister Do? And it lists all of the duties. So I think that's a starting point if that's what we're talking about. Is that the kind of documents you mean?
Sort of, I thought that was, it doesn't really tell, if you're gonna go to the television or a newspaper, that's not in a form that's going to be, say, come be a lister. I think that there should be something, if we wanted to put something in the newspaper, what would we put in it? We can't put that listing. Do we have or can we make something like that?
The need for listers or assessors versus what they do.
Right.
But they also need to know.
But how do we make it sound enticing?
They need to know what they do.
Super fun? Meet the public.
But doesn't that change from town to town?
She's saying, doesn't it change from town to town?
That's true, the duties.
Can I just make this? So, Jill mentioned about something about tech centers, and that's really been like in the back of my brain, getting forward to like technical centers and making this a course of study. That's what I would like to see over the next 4 or 5 years. So I'd be really curious if anybody has any any ideas, any thoughts on how we could move forward to that, through that door and get there. I think that's, for me, that's a huge piece, having teenagers and having not even my own teenagers understand what this is all about or ever being, exposed to it. Kids don't know. If they don't know, they're not going to go down that path. They have to be, we have to show them that it's a thing.
It sounds to me like a recruitment poster would be great for that. You could put them up, tell about what it is a little bit, and say, your state needs you. How it used to be Uncle Sam needs you? Well, why couldn't we do that for Vermont needs you?
I don't know that the kids nowadays are paying attention to that.
Well, we have to do something to make it
No,
sound
we need a
enticing.
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok.
We need a TikToker.
TikTok. Yeah, we need a TikTok video that's on.
You look like you can
You
TikTok.
want to do it? Terry says she can rap. Maybe she can do it.
I don't know if they still have it or not, but I had used a program like that personally for my business through a high school and contacted, I think it was a guidance department, and there are students that are looking for independent study projects. The school will pay them a salary and give them credit. And, if we have an outline of what the role of the responsibility of the lister is, if they wanted to come in and work at the office a couple of hours a week, whatever time that's agreed upon, they would have certain duties and they would get paid for it and credit for it, and, and that's a good way of getting their feet wet.
In addition to teenagers, one of the reasons I landed in this job was finding myself suddenly as a solo parent with no support. Why aren't we tapping into CCD? Why aren't we in these tech centers tapping into adult night programs or weekend programs, offering a certification course as they are offering as a way that somebody who is looking to change careers or a way to achieve potentially a livable wage, depending on where you end up a lister or assessor. I understand that, but there certainly is a great capacity for growth and economic opportunity with very little minimal investment other than time. You get paid to learn, and you're not going to come out tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and that was one of the strong things I looked at. And it wasn't through the career counseling that I was involved with in the state or anything like that. I basically had to go out and seek and find it myself. There's a way we need to kind of bridge all of that, I think, too.
So I just want to pick up on what other people have said, that to me, attraction rather than promotion always works. So to be able to hit points like you know, everyone that owns property gets a tax bill. That's when they freak out and say, my taxes are too high. So, okay, is it your civil duty to get involved in service work? And, you know, sometimes it's a real pain in the ass, but for the most part, it can be a rewarding experience, depending on what end of the spectrum you're at. And I think one of the things that Lisa and I have talked about was how can we get together and really work with PVNR, with VLTC to really hone in on some of these attractive points. We could offer aerobics at 3, just so you're not falling asleep on the job. But seriously though, it's hard to get people excited about anything unless it's a video game. Anyone wants to put that out, you could do that, but I don't know, that's sort of where my head is going, like, how do we move forward from the dark of last year into just generating some excitement? Like, why did we all get here? We weren't dragged and drugged. Some of us.
My name's Cheyenne. I've been a lister for almost 3 years now, and I was appointed to fill the remainder of a term in 2020. And one of the biggest things was the job description. It was very descriptive. When I looked at it on Indeed, they had listed so many of the lister functions and duties that it really intrigued me to at least reach out and see what it was about. When I interviewed, they brought me in the office and showed me some of the not all, but some of the various functions that they do in the office because I had no idea. So I think that's the biggest thing is knowing what you're going to be doing, seeing the area you're going to be working in, and also knowing they were very upfront about the education portion, and that was a big piece for me. So I think that worked well, and I think going forward, highlighting the education and just how much you can get is important.
Hi, I'm Sarah Clark from London area. I just want to say that getting people to do things or wanting to have the desire to become listers. I find the demographics in our area we have a lot of people who moved here. They want to be on committees, they want to do things, but they want things to be pretty. It isn't that they want to do work, they want to do jobs that improve the town, but it's not a function that's necessary to make the town run, not where the money comes from. The other thing is, I think that for kids, one of the great things is if you get in touch with a high school like Burton has a community service program, and the kids have to do so many hours before they graduate, and that kind of an internship is a wonderful thing. We even start out with our 8th graders being invited to a town meeting and sit up in a balcony, and that has seemed to work. Kids seem interested. So I think you just have to, some of this is the people that want to do the things that we have agreed to do aren't necessarily available right now. They want to do other things.
I think part of this is we need to make sure we have offices that are open to new people and young people. It's one thing saying we need more listers, we need more people involved, but they come to an office where, only I do reviews, only I do homesteads, you can file, but don't file that. You have to make sure you have an office that is open and accepting to new people, and new people who have ideas that are different than yours, and like how you work with them. And I think that's probably going to be a bigger draw. It's like no one wants to work for someone if they're not allowed to do anything. Like you can only, and especially young kids, like they're not just going to watch you. Like you have to let them do stuff, and they need to see interaction between between yourself and the town clerks, or whoever, like, that's one thing that I see that's, or I've heard and witnessed and observed, is how sometimes some offices are very closed, and their duties are very closed, and I think if you want new people, you need to open that up and train them, let them do things.
Thank you.
Does Patrick have an update for us? I'd just like to hear how things are coming on.
That too.
Sure.
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So, as everybody knows, you're getting your homesteads through PBR as you normally would. There was a little hiccup with the FTP over the past week, so I know both Chris and I, Chris from Nemrick and I, have heard from several people that were missing some homesteads because they weren't transferred to either system. So that has been resolved. As you know, current use is downloadable now into your Nemrick billing system. Those pathways will continue. So if you elect to stay with a third-party billing system, you'll be able to download that data into it. I think maybe the last issue that we have with those two items is rounding in some of the CAMA software for the current use exempt production. The two systems didn't talk so closely as they do now, so it was never really noticed. So we're working on getting that resolved. But those pathways will remain open if you choose to use a third-party billing system. We do have all of the sales in. We had a bunch that came in a little bit late there, but all the sales are in for the equalization study, so you have those available. As we move into the fall, we're going to look into testing the billing with folks, because I know that was a big part of the reason why we slowed down. It was kind of too much change at once, and specifically the anxiety over a brand new billing system. We're going to have a lot of testing with the town clerks and so forth on that. So we'll be working on that throughout the fall so that we're nice and prepared moving forward. We are getting your grand list data, excuse me, from Nemrick, the 411. So we're ingesting that. That is all living in VTPI, and that'll be the baseline for managing TIFs and exemptions. That'll be the next big thing that comes out, and that will be in the January timeframe. You guys will be able to submit your final grand list. We'll pull in all of your TIFs and exemptions, load them in for you, and then you'll be able to manage them in VTPI. Ratio studies and final comp sheets will work largely the same way they did last year. We have a meeting coming up to discuss if there's a more efficient way to get that information out to the public in a little more concise fashion. And then billing will be going live right around April of next year. So if you choose to use VTPI billing, you'll be able to do that. I think we've talked to pretty much everybody that has odd billing situations, so we've got a pretty robust billing platform in place that we'll let you guys see this fall. What am I missing? What are you guys curious about that I haven't mentioned already?
Will you be doing homestead declaration downloads starting in February this coming year?
Yes. Yep.
Is those of us that are using it, which is throughout the state, the best way to give feedback to you for things that we as people in the field, in the trenches, are dealing with this on a day-to-day basis, to give you feedback to say, hey, this would really make this easier, or a different way that you could approach this. And I'm not going to go into particulars at this point, but I think that that would be extremely helpful to have that dialogue from those of us that are really in the field. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of we have kind of a data triangle right now because we have VTPI, we have CAMA, and we have the Nemrick grand list for most folks. So This year is a little cumbersome with that kind of round robin of making sure that everything is all synced up. Next year, that will get better. In terms of how you get feedback to us, probably your district advisor, I think, would be a good source of, communication. Say, hey, this is what we're having trouble with. We meet regularly with PBR, so I think that's probably the most logical way to get information back and suggestions. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and you've noticed patterns in support, people you support too, and that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I think that's true. This is our number one priority. It's kind of our main focus throughout our entire workday. We do collect all of these things, so whether you tell your district advisor, they'll let Christy and I know. And again, if there's support tickets that come in, Pat's team will look at those and see if they see patterns or see if there's something bigger going on there. But yeah, your district advisor, because they're really helpful to give the context to us so that we can then apply that. And I do agree with what Pat was saying. This year has been exponentially more challenging because we've got feet in multiple things, and we also have them in EQs, and then we had our access database of PBR, which we kicked out the door and then had to sort of recreate. So it has been a really challenging year for data to communicate back and forth across the systems. And so yeah, we're hoping next year will be a lot more streamlined and there'll be a lot fewer places to carry out that work.
I'm just going to add from the current use perspective, because we're still working with some internal changes that we need to the database, and I think that's true of everyone up here. We're sort of experiencing those same things too. It's not quite what we want yet. It's getting close, it's getting better. And I certainly anticipate with my staff having a conversation with them once we're done with this year, saying, okay, what worked really well? What would you like to see changed? And then bring that up to Pat. And I think that's a good thing to do. Let's get through this full cycle, get through all of your reporting that you need to do, and then come up with sort of, here's the top 10 things that we really think could be improved in this process. And that, bringing something like that forward, whether VALA does that and gathers that information, says, here's what VALA membership has said. And that's really powerful. If you can come, if Pat gets 200 ideas, that's one thing. But if VALA comes forward and says, I've got 10, these are the 10 ideas that our membership supports that we want changes. I think that's really powerful. So think about that and feed that into your VALA membership and your VALA meetings.
Quick, I'll make it really quick. I think one of the frustrations that I would like to see resolved is the commitment by CAMA vendors to communicate with their users about what's going on and what they're doing to help us get the work done and over into Vermont Pi. That I found to be really a struggle with this last round, and I understand it's different, and hopefully it'll be better going forward, but I would just urge you to get those CAMA vendors to be more proactive about communicating with their users so they can do their jobs, to get the work done.
100%. We're restarting outreach next week to go through that process again, make sure we refine those reports.
During this whole thing, though, I want to send a shout out to all the district advisors. Could not have done anything without them.
Thank you.
So we talk about young people, and young people are in front of computers all the time. And my background was an IT background, and it worked for us. I don't want to say how many years. But in other places, I realize towns are small, so I'm not saying burn your records, burn your paper files. But so one time somebody asked me, well, how do you use a paper file? I said I never used a paper file in my whole career. It's all on the computer, And so I just think improvement, and I'm saying yes to the software. I realize there's bugs involved, but I think if we could, there's a lot of functions, back office functions, that could be automated very well. If you take those boring functions out of the job, you'll get more people who want to work creatively.
I just want to give a shout out to the
obviously you all know where to find us. I see a lot of very familiar faces and names out there. And I think we're the only thing standing between you guys and your door prizes, so. Thank you, Kyle and Elizabeth, for taking track and being here.
Okay, if I could have someone pull names from the basket, and we'll go through the door prizes. Elizabeth, maybe you can help me organize what's what? Or I could just read them off here, perhaps.
They're all right there.
Okay, where should I start? Let's start with the little baskets. Well, we can do some of these small ones. Okay. We're going to go right through it. Then we have a different one from oh, we have another one here too. Okay, we have Duncan's gift certificate. And we have a name on the hat.
Karen Lemna.
A Dunkin' gift card. Go, Dunkin', Susan. Okay, next I have a, looks like a mobile credit card. I don't know the denomination on this one. Why don't we do all three of them? And, okay, first one, Abby Friedman. I think she's still here. No?
Yes, she's right there.
Okay, Abby. Next one. Sue Lawrence, pretty sure I saw her a minute ago. Okay, there we go. One wonder. Next one. Ed Clodfelter. And Benton Mitchell, right next to him. Okay, next I have a Barnes & Noble gift card. Candace Brown. Oh, yeah, okay. I have an Amazon gift card, Martha Lyons. Martha. And I have a mystery gift from CA, donated by CAI Technology. How about Jeff Rubin? I know he's there. Okay. Yeah, and then we have these separate ones from different vendors. Do you want to do those? So we have a separate hat from, this is the Tyler Technologies.
Tyler Technologies.
Okay, and it's an Amazon gift card. Noelle Walker? Is Noelle still here? Oh, yes. And we have another one that's a separate one.
This is from Dimrick.
And I think you need two. It's 2 jugs to serve. Is that what we got there? Okay. Karen Lemna. Oh, my God. Mark Bouvier Beister. Mark. And then we have a few baskets. This looks like a Dakin Farm cheese and smoked meats. Jeff Barcelo. All right, the next one is Chris Neely. Okay, and we have then another Dakin Farm basket. Carol Bingham. This is an umbrella. It looks like an insulated bag. Oh, Elizabeth Curran.
Then we have mums.
And then we have the mums. Richard Curran. Evan Weiss. One more time on the bath basket. Jonathan Stevens. Oh, okay, we're redrawing for the mom. Terry Kudich. Sorry if I mispronounced it. We are down to